Good morning, my fellow travelers on spaceship Earth. It is I, and I am Guy. And we are here today to do work. Hope you're ready to join me on the old working thing. So I think what I was doing was working on issue 2, but I want to work on issue 3 as well. So because I don't want to have to rewrite issue 2 because we did something really strange to issue 3. So we're going to do a couple of things today. One, we're going to work on issue 3. And 2, if we have time, we're going to go back and work on the fighters. Let's open 2 while we're at it, just so we know where 2 ended up. It's still open. Okay. Now I've put up here, there are 3 things that need to happen today, or in this issue, to wrap this story up. First thing is we have to put Alex on the planet because there can't be any civilians on the ship when she changes footing into a military vessel. And 2, we have to go confront the destroyers when they come in. And then 3, Alex is going to close that thread that's been destroying things. And then, of course, the last one's going to be the home ship arriving. So these are all the things I've got to think through. We're out here. And I am not waking up yet. Oh. All right. So now I'm kind of trying to figure out, okay, where we're going with this one. Let's look at the overview of the entire episode. We got 3 peaks, right? So here's peak 1, here's peak 2, and here's peak 3. These are high points in the story. Now, just trying to think of what I feel should be right. I should be able to put peak 1 being them lifting off. So thinking about where peak 1 would be, maybe that's where they left off. Right. And we can go through this. What should be our long discussion piece? Should that be Alex and Max? It might be. Alex and Max talk to each other. So we hit peak 2. I'm just, hey, Brent, I'm thinking through the things. We've got 4 steps that have to go through. We have to go through here on this. Somehow we have to put Alex back on the planet. And then we have to take the Kittiwake up to confront the destroyers. Is there anything else we're missing back here on issue 1 that we've already put into place? At the end, yeah. We put Alex back on the ship at the end. But she needs to be on the planet because she can't draw the thread to her if she's on a ship. It'd be kind of obvious. So I'm just looking at the overview here, right? So the light area here and here and here represent the three peaks of this story, right? So story must have a peak here, has to have a peak at this second part right about where get different. There we go. Right here where the splash is. So it's going to have a peak right here, and then a peak right here, and then it's going to peak out here. And then this is, of course, the lowest point of the story. And this might be just straightforward, right? So right through here, we have, Alex, you have to stay on the planet because we're going to go fight and stuff, and you don't want to die with us because it's a one-sided fight, and nobody will win, and we're all going to die, or whatever. I'm just making stuff up. Because, like, I mean, really, the Kittywake's going to go confront the two destroyers coming in. Destroyers are bigger than corvettes, so we'll see the Kitty-Wake lift off and take off, leaving Alex behind on the planet, which is kind of where she wants to be anyway. Not yet. She's not, at this point, a member of the crew yet. She's just been taken aboard and given a place to stay. So, I think what we have is Kitty-Wake lifts off here. Then here is Alex and Max talking about. Yeah. That sounds what I think I'll do. Is pretty much we're going to put you on the planet because we expect to get into a fight, and you're a civilian, so boot. Yeah. That's what I think is going to pretty much happen. Then, which is where Alex wants to be anyway. Then Alex takes some vehicle or something and goes out to an area that is absolutely desolate. Hey, some user. Good morning. How are you this morning? Except for it's morning for us. How are you this afternoon? Evening. Where are you? You're in afternoon, evening. How are you afternoon, evening? This evening. Oh, that's good. I am thinking out issue 3, which is what we're doing here. These are my layout pages for issue 3. I'm trying to make sure I've got all of the pieces covered here. I feel like this guy. We'll say this section here to maybe right here is our first scene. Oh no. You're looking for alternatives. You know what? I've got a XP Pen 22E. That's what I've been drawing on literally since the beginning of COVID. So I got it about 3 weeks before COVID started. And I still use it obviously every day, for this thing. And with this monitor that I'm drawing on right now is that XP Pen 22E. It's about $400. And I mean, I know it's probably not as awesome as a Cintiq, but brand new, it was $400. The big thing I really like about this 22E is that it doesn't have a touch screen. It only works with a pen, which is great because I draw and then lift my hand up all the time. And so every time I have a monitor, I'll draw and then lift up. Then all of a sudden the touch screen will say, "You touched all this stuff down here." And it'll freak out. And so I hate having touch screens. So, and what makes me mad is I think everybody's going now to touch screen pen or touch screen screens or whatever. And I don't want to. So I'm afraid when I have to finally replace this poor guy, it's going to have to be with a touch screen. I'm going to be all mad. I mean, this one's using the same. This one just uses Microsoft's drivers, I believe. I'm pretty sure. Anyway, I don't remember. It's been 4 years now almost. But I mean, it does really well. I mean, this thing's been. I do every so often have problems with my drivers being forgotten, but that was only with Windows 10. Since Windows 11's been on here, I really haven't had that problem. With my Windows, before this updated to Windows 11, every so often it would forget the pen piece. So the monitor would work fine, but your pen wouldn't do anything when you got over here. So I don't know. Yeah. Well, and even when it did, it would just forget it every so often. So it's not like it happened every day. It just, I'd get on stream every so often and it had forgotten the driver for the pin. So I'd unplug the USB cable that went to it and then plug the USB cable back in and it would go, "Oh, that pen." Yeah. And that was all I needed to do. What are you doing? Pesty cat. Yeah. Was that 3,500 US? Wow. Was it a mobile Cintiq, like one of the ones that you could get up and walk away with without having to bring your entire PC with you, or was it just the monitor? '24 HD with touch, huh? This is weird. '24 HD model with touch. Okay, just so we're kind of on the same page, you're going to pay 3,500 for a used 24, and this is a brand new 27, 4K with pressure, and it's 35. I'm just saying that I'm looking on Amazon, and a brand new one that's bigger is 35. Now, if you've got $3,500 to spend, buy this one. It's brand new. And like, this guy's brand new. Oh, okay, that's different. That's why I was like, you have $3,500 to spend. Let's see what XP Pen has. Because mine's a 22. Here's the 22R. This one, this is pretty close to the same critter I've got. I guess the standard without keys is cheaper. Yeah, standard without the keys is cheaper, but I like my keys. Yeah, this is pretty similar to the guy I've got completely, except for the red dial. I don't have the red dial. Oh, I'm like, we don't have an eraser. Oh, yeah. I don't know if this one has touch. I thought they all did now. But this one doesn't seem to have one. Okay, let's do that real quick. There we go. Aw, I can get cute pajamas. That's what I've always wanted. Let's see if anybody even has one. They don't. The power cords for it, though. It's useful. There we go. So refurbished from Wacom, they want 2100 for the 24. The equivalent Huion is 719, so that's a big monitor. Which is fine. New tool set. I'm just looking through everything. Do they still sell these? They don't. They don't sell these anymore. I was just wondering. I was like, It is a nice tablet. I'm not gonna argue. Hey there, Jackson. Are you back from LA? As my mother used to say, are you back from La La Land? My mom didn't really particularly care for having to go out to LA. Brent is really glad to see you, Jackson. Just saying. He is capital letters glad to see you. Back to the chaos. Oh no. Somebody gave Brent too much coffee. Oh, yeah. Okay, I see what you're saying. So there's like a reason why you're really big on this particular monitor. That makes sense. I'm not going to argue with that. The music's getting repetitive. There you go. Slow down there, Jackson. You can slow down. Oh, wow. Monitor is a heavy little bugger, isn't it? 30 pounds. That's like weighing in at like 12 kilos. Ooh. Philippe Smith, huh? That's cool. Yeah, I follow you, my friend. $28 kilos. There you go. Did I say 12? I meant it does? It says 30 pounds. Yeah. Oh, with the arm. Yeah, I'm like, the monitor itself only weighs 13 kilos. 14 kilos, give or take. With that arm, yeah, the arm would make it heavier. That's a pretty weighty arm. It's a meaty, hefty arm. Okay. Okay. At one point in time, I had gotten this interesting little primer on how to size out your scenes, right? So he says he breaks the scenes into the following lengths. A short micro scene is anything less than a page. Then a short scene would be 1 to 2 pages. Standard would be 3 to 5. A long scene would be 6 to 10. And extended 11 more. I mean, yeah. I mean, there were two of them that were purchased at the same time. A buddy of mine bought the exact same model and uses that. So looking at this set of rules, this is 6. This is a long scene. Any really long scenes running over 5 pages. So what I'm saying is maybe we should break this scene down into 5. Which is what I think is fine too. And I mean, obviously look into it. My 22E is no longer for sale anywhere, except in the used market. But this 22E has done literally everything I've ever needed it to do. It even has a utility that I don't necessarily use. I keep wanting to use the utility of the keys on the side, and I keep sometimes remembering to do it, and sometimes I don't. I'm like, should use the keys. The thing that really is interesting is that the pen for this is not battery powered necessarily. Well, it is battery powered, but it goes forever on a charge. Like it came with 2 pins, and yeah, the dial thing. I understand that. And I don't know, the dial thing is semi-important because there's no dial on this at all. But you can always get an external dial, as always an option. What do I have today to do? Nothing until tonight. Go do work. Maybe. I don't know what it's using for it, but it takes forever for it to actually run out. And since they gave me 2 of them, one of them's over there on the charger at all times, but it's been over there long enough that it's buried somewhere in all the cleaning, which means I don't think I've swapped pens this last month either. So probably the last time I swapped out my pens was October, maybe even earlier. Because it's been a while since I've had a swap. And there's 2 of, like I said, they gave me 2. No, it doesn't get hot at all. Probably a good thing, because I think the other one's buried under papers over there. Probably wouldn't end well if it hot. It is one of those things where I've got to clean this office pretty seriously. So Yeah. Yeah. Well, and the thing that gets me is, like I said, I bought this in 2019. This was my 2020, we're going to do a good job sort of present thing so that I would become better, a better artist and not use so much paper. And just before COVID started, and I'm like sitting here going, well, I mean, it is now coming up on 2024, so it was about December of 2019 that I bought this, and it's chugged along doing just fine for all this time. Which, and I don't have any problems with it. It's moved around a couple of times here. I don't move it a lot. I mean, I guess I don't know what would happen if we had to move it a lot. Yeah, oh yeah, I did. I was the procedure that I did before before I got my walkout, or before I got this, was that I had 11 by 17 master pages that I would draw on, and then I'd scan them in. I draw traditionally, like with blue line, and then move on to ink. And I even used maquettes back then as well. And what I would do is I'd take the maquette, like the maquette here, I'd take the maquette and I'd render it and then bring it into here, well, into an actual page. Let's say, like this page here, I'd bring the maquette in and then make it all in blue line. So drop the maquette down into light blue colors. And then in doing so, then I could print it on my big printer over here as an 11 by 17 page. And so 11 by 17 is roughly A3. So it would be A3 sized. And so I'd then draw on it, ink all of that, and then scan it back in. That printer over there prints A3 and then scans an A3 as well. So it's kind of interesting because I paid about $400 for that printer. And that was, I don't know, a long time ago. Because that was my big thing since about, I don't know, about 1998 or 1999. It did. It was totally expensive. The printer itself was $400. The ink would cost me, $70 every time I had to replace all of those inks. So that was the big push, was money right there. That's exactly why I got a monitor, was because with the monitor, I cut all of that out of my cost loop. So prior to this monitor, I was paying, well, for each one of these, I mean, really, it's only 32 pages. So that's not horrible. I could get, it was actually, though, the problem was that it was cheaper to go to Kinko's or FedEx and put all of the 11 by 17s on a PDF and have them print it, because it was only like 70 cents a page or something like that. So it cost about $25 to print the whole thing out and then just go on from there. But it wouldn't be on any kind of board, because they couldn't print on the comic board. Comic board being the sort of comic pages that we usually use. But yeah, I mean, here's a good example of what we were talking about right here. Sometimes it worked, and sometimes it didn't. Like here, I'll show you. I am on the wrong monitor. There we go. So this is, comic board, but this is exactly what it would be. What it looked like, right? So I'd print out on the blue line. You can't even really even make out the details, which was fine because I was going to draw over the blue line anyway. And so I usually would go on ahead and print out the text so that the text was already out there. I'd print out the page, and it's on board. So it's on that was what that printer would print on. And on the back, you can kind of see, it was already a Blue Line page. So literally came from a company called Blue Line Art Products. And so that's what I'd do is I'd print it out like this, draw over it, ink in everything, and then scan it back in. And the real problem we had wasn't necessarily the price of it, because the ink over there, yeah, it cost quite a bit, but it could go 2 or 3 comics. So it's one of those things. Hey there, Brent. Welcome back. Hey there, George. How are you doing? So, yeah. And that got expensive and stupid, and we hated it. No. I mean, other than welcome back. So, yep. So I have moved on from that to this, which is a markedly easier. And not only that, with this monitor, of course, it's easier to make a broadcast. So I do still feel like my pages were a little bit better when I did them traditionally, as far as inking goes and things like that. And that's only because I had sort of an instinct for how I was inking pages with a pen, and using the tablet doesn't work exactly the same. So trying to get everything kind of lined up correctly is a little different. So let's see if I can find an example of it. Like, let's see here. Yeah. So this was done the dual way, right? Traditionally, and it's hard to see because, of course, this is still low res, but I don't think I have anything in high res, do I? I don't think so. And these are all still low res. So, yeah. Kind of had anyway. We are still discussing some users' intent um, to buy a new monitor, a new drawing monitor. Oh yeah, yeah. It's interesting. You you have caught me in a very introspective time. I have container after container after container of artwork that goes back to where I was, when I was 16 or 15, and I want to throw all of it away, but not throw away the pictures themselves. So I've been taking pictures of these pages with my camera and then throwing away the pieces of paper because it's just cumbersome. Everything is so cumbersome. There's you know there boxes upon boxes of things, and I never go through them ever again. And the only time I actually look for things is on my PC. So I'm like, I might as well just photograph the whole mess and then look through it on the PC. And it's a markedly easier and better way to deal with things. So that's what I've been doing. And so, to your statement, I've been kind of recently going through my old artwork and looking at my old artwork and looking where I came from. And I have all of the original first pages where I learned all of these different techniques. Um, I was doing a comic for the local fanzine here, and it was, let's see if I can find it, histories for you. The local fanzine, this was in the early 90s, and I think it's out on my history drive. So there we go. And let's see here. So originally, I had sort of been doing comics that were more, well, it's not actually really a comic, this and this. So yeah, this was sort of what I was started with, right? And this is like early on. Yeah. Well, I mean, and I mean, this was the first comic I drew. And if you can see, I had problems with hands, just like everybody does. But you can see that there's an underdrawing that was here, which wasn't fully erased. And that was kind of funny. Kind of going this way with it. And early on, I didn't know that I should be shrinking it. I had no idea. And so I was drawing these pages 1-to-1, right? So these were all 1-to-1 and stuff like that. And so this was the end result of it. And then my buddy and I was over at his work at one point in time just drawing, and he was like, something's not right with this. And he grabbed the piece of paper and stuck it on a photocopier and then shrunk it 70% or to 70% size. And it looks so much better. And we said, oh, that's a thing. So then we took this, and because this was what it was originally looking like. And we took this and then we shrunk it down, and everything became so much nicer because all the lines got thinner and everything like that. This is also, by the way, the time when I first discovered that I really, really, really love drawing airplanes and spaceships and cars, and super, super straight or super, super detail oriented on making sure that my airplanes are exactly right. I think I bought a book on the B29 so that I could make sure I had all the little pieces correctly done and stuff. So, and also when I first started out with this format of cross hatching. So, yep, like tractor and stuff like that. So, there you go. And then I moved on, but that was around the first time when I found out that I should be shrinking them. This was the first page I did in large format. So right here, this is actually a scan, which is good because it kind of preserved the marker scritches, which I think is cool. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Kenichi Sonoda did all kinds of cool stuff. As time went on, I got better with my workflow. But the idea of the workflow being, I hate the film strip thing. So what I did was I took 11 by 17s down to Kinko's and I put a little like side thing on here. And then, put the little top thing up here to show which side I was supposed to be drawing on. And this was my earliest blue line pages because they're not blue line. I didn't know that that was a thing. So these were photocopied out of, I took them and photocopied them from a master that I drew. These are the masters. So I have this side and the other side. Right. So switch back and forth. And here's quite a ways down. I liked all of the dragon scales that I did. Sometimes I feel like there was, even though the artwork's not as good, I enjoyed some of this stuff. This was a really cool picture with the sword and that pattern that she's wearing on her katana. I always like that one. Anyway. Yeah, film strip is the new version of the picture thing. So it adds, do you want to go to these other pictures in this same directory? We're going to block some of the pictures so that we can put this little thing of other pictures on here so that you can go to any picture you want. I'm like, I don't want to. I don't care. So I hate the little film strip, and you can't get rid of it. This is a permanent thing, and there's no option to get rid of it. So I can't just look at my artwork. I can't just you have to click on the artwork to make the film strip go away. And if you do anything like switch to the next page, it's still, I don't know, just this is the wrong one. This is Mako. I mean, for 1990, what was this, 1992, 1993, it's not bad. Later on, I got better with a lot of things. This one is a good one. I like this one a lot. I did this one in 1998. What's so funny about this particular... Yeah, I know, right? Well, this is, and it's just, I don't know. Anyway, I like this picture a lot. This one was good. I was proud of this because I remember looking up and trying to do research on what the Sydney 2000 Olympics logo would be because I was going to finish this comic before the Olympics started. And so, no, I drew it. Why, thank you. Um, that's actually why I was very pleased with this particular picture. The horse looks right. I got all the musculature correct. This is before I thought to ever use maquettes. I didn't think about, because this was actually drawn before maquettes. So I didn't get Poser until 1999, and this was 1998 or 1997, somewhere in there. So yeah, I like this picture. It was the only picture I made of this story. I don't even know where the stories. I don't even know if I can even find the story pieces at this point anymore. So, but yeah, that was a thing. I have the document here. I wonder what the document reads someday. I'll have to look. And then in 1999, I started working on uh, a comic that I was like, oh, you know what I should do? I should do a comic that's sort of like an alternate, alternate like thought process or something where it's 1890 and they've gone to Mars and stuff like that, but all on 1890s theory or whatever. So I called it Legend of Innocence, which was funny because this was before I'd ever found out what steampunk was. This was before steampunk came out, and everything is all steampunky, you know. And so, this sort of thing. They had a plane and a wizard who had to start the engine, and then kind of fun. Anyway, right? Space steampunk. That's pretty much what I had. I had a ship which had a sail, and this was the first time that I was using 3D print or 3D designed backgrounds. Like I built this entire bridge set in 3D and wasn't sure whether it would work or not. And the airplane was done in 3D and the ship was not because I wasn't sure which way I wanted to go with it. So it's like that. Anyway, it was a fun comic. So apparently there was an entire comic out there called Space 1889. And it's supposed to be, sort of a joke off of Space 1999 in its own way. Then we got into just before I left for Japan, I had an idea for a comic that would have been about, an alternate World War II theory involving a World War II bomber. I thought, wouldn't it be interesting if you could use magic to protect, like put a shield up around bombers? So that was the whole idea behind that. I'm looking through my histories, by the way, when we talk about this. And Tamerlan was started in 2005. Oh, yeah. So we started Tamerlan in 2005. trying to see if I can find some of the earliest pictures. And this was the first time that I really thought about making 3D models to be used in the actual comic itself. So I built things like, here's the bridge of the Tamerlane. So which the Tamerlane Bridge, you can see, is very similar to the Enterprise back in the day, the original series Enterprise, except that everything's trimmed in blue instead of red. And so, that was a different thing. And this is where I was learning things like, if you don't put lines right here and right here, it still doesn't look right. And so I had to make sure fill in all the pieces right through here, kind of make it look a little bit more solid and stuff like that. And if you have holes in your mesh, make sure that the mesh is tightened up. And, I had to learn all these tricks to make that work. But Tamerlane had some good stuff. I like the fact that I added no step to the intercooler radiator grills. I always find that funny, especially since those intercooler radiator grills would have been huge. I had him beat by 5 years. Yep. I was already well into it by 2005. I figured out how to do all of it. Oh, that's Mariah's, but it belongs in here. That's cool. Like, what are all these things in here? Always like this one. It's kind of cool. That's the hut they used for Zephram Cochrane back in the episode, back in the original series. And this is from another episode, this sort of radiator sensor thingy. So back when we were doing this, one of the guys who was watching, or one of the guys who was on our forums, because this is before really social media took off. And so we just had forums out there, and we joined the forums or whatever. And I had a forum on my website, and there was a guy who was constantly on the forums who also was an artist. And he sometimes would draw pictures of my characters and stuff. It was kind of fun. Like, he drew this picture of my mirror universe. So it was kind of cool. That's what Cochrane looks like in the mirror universe, apparently. Who knew? Later on, I actually drew a comic in that universe just because it was such a cool thing that he did. But he liked to draw my characters. Like, that's Detrell. He wasn't a bad artist at all. It was really good. There he had Drew Cochran as Riona Hazuki and illustrate what she looked like. It was kind of cool. So yeah, it's kind of sad. I lost touch with him somewhere around, right? I had fan art. It was actually kind of cool. This is one of those things where we'll never really see this in the same way ever again. So it's kind of fun to think back on it. But when I was doing Tamerlane, I was relatively well known in the Star Trek communities, the fan communities. And my fan comic was known by quite a few people. And then I started working for the fan film Farragut, and that made other people become aware of Tamerlane. And so it became one of those things where the Tamerlane would show up in other people's fan films and fan things, and I would put other fan films into my Tamerlane comics, which was kind of cool. It all worked really well and everything worked fine and things like that. So, but I ended up with fan art. It was kind of cool. It was kind of weird, but it was kind of cool. Always kind of weird. Didn't know exactly what to do with stuff like that. It was kind of weird to have fans like that. That was just strange to me. But they even kept all of it somewhere. It's like all of these pieces in here. Yeah. Then we had all kinds of other things that he did. Like somebody was working in Poser and did Captain Cochrane. But it was kind of interesting. And then every so often I'd get these guys out here, which were fan pictures done by actual artists. And so when Beauregard, who was the guy who drew all of the pictures that you saw, this one here, Beauregard would go out to other artists and have them draw the characters and pay for it, which was very funny. Like, I like this picture here. This is one of my favorites. She's like, hi? It's cute. Yeah, and then here. This is kind of cool. Found this one in another forum too. Beauregard then did this. What gets me is the stippling. Look at all that stippling. Man. So, yeah, he had Zombie Cochrane. So, yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on. I lived in an entirely different world back then. That's kind of cool. Animated you getting sucked into some sort of limbo. So, I mean, technically speaking, Brent now has the official first fan story of Bellatrix Rising by technicality, because he was talking about a story involving how Jacine and AIs can use power consumption. So that makes it the first technically the first version of Yeah. Right. So, yep. So Brent has the first fan work for Bellatrix Rising. Oddly, I have only been working on Bellatrix Rising for 3 years, where once I started Bellatrix Rising, it had been 15 years since I started Tamerlane. So we're not quite as far down the road with Bellatrix Rising as we were with Tamerlane. I also can't just easily plug in to um, the fan community like I could with Star Trek. One of the things I could do with Star Trek was, you know, draw an episode and right 3 years. A lot of that world building was in 2 years there. Although that said, I'm actually pretty proud of the world building on this because I was talking to somebody at a Thanksgiving event over this last weekend, and I could pin down exact speeds and things like that, and that was kind of nice. And they were fascinated by that information, and so I don't mind it so much. You know what I mean? Like, I may have done a little too much on the world building, but I'm pretty proud of the world building that I did. So going back to what we were looking at before, because we were doing stuff and things, and I'm liking this. This is a good, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to actually load this into here. Yeah, I don't think this is unique to. All right. All right. So this is a professional artist did a web page blog, or did a just a normal blog out there where he was talking about some basic design concepts for comics. And one of the things that he had said was the sizes of pages, the sizes of scenes, and there should be, you know, as he said, this isn't hard and fast rules, but here's a useful sort of way of looking at a comic, right? So there's 5, 6, 7, 8, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. So this is a 24-page comic that he's got going on right here. And he's got about 7 scenes, right? Mine's 32, so I can probably do about 8 scenes or 9 scenes or whatever. But I'm kind of looking at, what do I want to kind of do on this? I like using this setup because it gives me the ability to it just gives me a rough sketch. I'm not going to hold to this like it's gospel, But I actually downloaded this book because it's a useful book. I bought it and downloaded it because he has it as a PDF. So, kind of looking at these rules, I'm gonna bring these up on a separate scene so that I can keep this, like out here, so we can keep looking back on it as we need to. Right. So this is one of the longer scenes is this first one. And so, his comment is if you do long scenes like we've got here, then you may want to break it up. So if it's longer than 6 pages or so, you may want to break it up. Yes, it was, but you still get the honor of carrying that title around. I know you were actually serious, and it wasn't a tribute necessarily so much as it was we should be looking into this theory, or looking into this procedure or whatever, but roll with me on this one. You know what I mean? Like, we got to think about this somehow. We'll get that figured out. Besides, I like the idea that if anybody asks, you were the first person to do fanfic. I think that's kind of fun in its own way. Make it a nomake. Yep. Somebody call me this time. Let's see what they got. They're way over here. Hey, I'm doing well. How are you? Sorry about that. That was a buddy of mine calling from South Carolina. So I don't usually get calls from her. So I was like, I better take this call just in case there's something bad going on. So there isn't anything bad, just a big life swing that she's going through. And so that's cool. I understand. But not a bad thing. Thank you, some user. I'm back. So, but sometimes if I, especially my out of state friends, if my out of state friends start calling, I'm like, I better answer that just in case it's somebody's not doing well or somebody's in the hospital or something. All right, back to deciding what we want to do. Kitty Wake lifts off. We've got to figure out what's going on in here. Then I probably want to do like a 2-page short or something, or a 2-page short scene of some sort, just so that we don't go into another 500-page monster scene here. So kind of looking at just the layout and the setup here, we are not on the right thing. You're just looking at my face, and you need to be looking at the monitor. So pages 2 through 6 here are going to be one scene, and then we got 7, 8, and 9. So, and this will be sort of not really the way, we kind of a concept shift. There's really only like 4 goals in here, so that I can actually add, we've got some space in here to put something else in, but I don't want to put anything else that's off the target of the story in here. So if you're wondering why I'm kind of rambling, the problems that I'm running into now are this. I pretty much simplified the story quite a bit in issue 2. I cut out a lot of extraneous pieces. I got rid of some of the, which was fine. But now I really only have about 2 different threads that are going through the story. We've got the thread on the Kitty Wake, where we have the crew of the Kitty Wake doing the Kitty Wake things. And then we have the thread of Alex and Max. And Alex and Max are a completely different thread, but now I only really have 2 threads. So we go into this sort of lull here from page 7 through, say, page 13. And what we really need is just to alternate back and forth. Kind of looking at this, though, I'm thinking, coming back into the story, so what I know I want to try to do probably between 14 and 16 is the old submarine thing, right? The old story about, or the old submarine movies where they've got one sub and another sub and they're trying to face off or whatever. And, one sub challenges the other sub to stand down, and the other sub then floods their tubes so that the torpedo tubes are full of water so that they can launch torpedoes. So I think this is still going to be Kittiwake in here. Right through here. Three pages, which will end up with, the effective flood tubes 1 and 2, the whatever that is effectively in fact, it'd be funnier if it was kind of like, they are flooding their tubes. That way, that's sort of we'll come back to it and make it sound real, but that's sort of the dun dun dun, right? And this is the Kittiwake. You are in Unity space. Stand out. And then they're flooding their tubes, sort of thing. So probably putting up a gravity moat would be what they'd really do. In the world of Bellatrix Rising, the defenses are all gravitic, so they're all gravity based. If you can control gravity, you might as well control gravity. So what they've got is this effectively a gravity moat. Open the gun ports or whatever. So when you have a spacecraft, like let's say the Kittiwake, right? It's got gravity all around it. Let's just say that that's in a plane like this, just for the example points. Or open the torpedo tubes, right? With this, when they use their propulsion, they drop the ball, or they throw the ball, or cast the ball. And that puts a gravity moat right in front of them, a gravity wave. It projects a gravity well. And then the ship falls into this well. When the ship falls into the well, the projector moves the ball. So it's perpetually falling towards this ball, and the ball is perpetually moving away. So as the spacecraft is here, it projects the ball, it falls towards the ball, but then the projectors had moved. So it's like a donkey drive is what they call it, the donkey drive or the carrot drive. And it's like sticking a stick in front of the donkey, right? With a stick with a carrot dangling down in front of the donkey. The donkey keeps walking forward because it's trying to get to the carrot, and the carrot is tied to the donkey, so the carrot keeps perpetually moving forward. And that's how the ships move in normal space, is using the ball. So you'll hear them say things like, drop the ball, or throw the ball, or things like that, because they're talking about a ball of gravity. Same thing happens when they start doing defenses. Defenses on a ship during combat uses what we call a gravity moat. And that's where they effectively make a moat all around the ship, which you can kind of see here like this. And it goes all the way around the ship, where it's this moat of gravity. That way, if anybody fires a missile into it, the missile gets sucked into the gravity moat. If anybody shoots them with a laser, the laser gets sucked into the gravity moat, or at least gets deflected. So you could even have a laser do something like that, or kind of bounce up or bounce around, because it'll get swung around the ship because of the gravity moat. So one of the first defensive things you can see from a ship is that they'll drop they'll put up a gravity moat, because then the ship itself will start to deflect and get warped, in the light reflecting back from the ship will get all distorted in the moat, which makes it really hard for them to shoot at it. So maybe that's what happens here, is they drop a gravity moat, sort of the first statement of combat. And they use terms like drop and rays and things like that, which are, it's the same thing with like ray shields. The shields just appear around a starship. So, in Star Trek, they don't actually come up from somewhere. So the same thing goes with dropping a gravity mote. It's a gravity well all around the ship. So it's all around it. But I'm sure that what it really looks like, probably from the outside, is you have a ship that you're looking at here, let's say, and then once the moat comes up and goes around it, this ship's image will disappear, and the image of the ship will be like in these sides here or whatever, like you can't see it anymore. And instead you get just the stars, with some of these stars getting warped around the edges like that. So it's very hard to see anything. You get the stars in the middle and the stars are around it like that. That's probably what it really would look like. Effectively obscuring the entire ship, making it so that masers won't get through it very easily. So that didn't help me make more of a plot, but it did help me think things out, right? So now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pages, which is a huge scene. Effectively to talk about everything else that's going on in this area. All the other problems that are happening here. And I think that's a big scene, so I probably want to break it in two somehow. And I think what will happen is this. Because at the end of this scene right here, we're going to have Alex standing there watching the kittiwake fly away, right? And that's how that scene ends. Now they are two separate entities. So the question is, what 1 to 2 page short can we go through here so we can come back to? Because the best way to do how did Alex get taken away, or how did Alex escape her watchers, would be some lampshade line, because I don't want to go through the entire thing of her stealthing and escaping and all that stuff, because that's not part of the story. Story isn't about her being stealthy and sneaky. The story is about her finding a place where other people aren't. And also, I think she's going to steal a motorcycle, because Brent has been wanting me to design a motorcycle in this universe for a while. So I think I can indulge Brent on a motorcycle. Besides, I kind of like the idea of her escaping on a motorcycle. If nothing else, because it'd be funny as all get out for her to be racing along a road on a motorcycle, and then this cat to just appear sitting down right next to her. So he's just sitting on nothing, and she's speeding along, and this cat sitting right next to her, and the wind isn't even affecting him. He's just sitting there talking to her, I think that'd be particularly funny. Like an air speeder. I think it'd be a ground speeder, but yeah, I mean it's still, using gravity on a planet is not good. So you don't want to use any kind of gravitic drive of any sort. So you don't want to use the dropping the ball thing or anything like that, or any anti-gravity stuff. You want to be judicious about that. Because if you use anti-gravity, it creates an anti-gravity shadow. It's not something that they do in Star Wars, but because whatever they're doing, those are repulsor beams of some sort. So it's like a beam that pushes down on the ground that lifts the ship up. But either way, there's something. If it's an anti-grav, if you nullify gravity underneath the spaceship, it's going to have a shadow above it where there's no gravity. So, like, the kittiwake could lift off from the ground using anti-gravity because that's fine. The kittiwake is one Corvette and it's a big ship for what's going on, so it makes some sense. But if every car out there was using anti-gravity, all the cars driving around the city would put a shadow of no gravity above it, that city size that goes all the way out into space where there's no gravity. And, so ships would be in orbit and they'd hit these null gravity things and boom, they pop out of orbit, See you later, Cat. Jackson. I'm working on it. So I think motorcycle is going to be a thing. So we'll put her on a motorcycle. But the anti-gravs in Bellatrix Rising cast shadows. We don't want to mess with that. So hang on real quick. Because somewhere I talked about this. Oh, yeah. Gravity shadows. There we go. So yeah, you can see here is the illustration. Like, there's the gravity well or gravity waves, right? But if the ship uses anti-gravity, it's going to cause a gravity shadow, which could alter like planetary forces. Like, here's a moon going over a large ship's gravity shadow, and when it does, it pops it up. Snowmobile. I actually kind of thought it'd be kind of fun to. This is back to the yes. So we definitely were doing world building, but on the same token, let's do something else here. I'm going to extend out for a few more minutes and keep working for a little while longer. Not much longer, but a little while longer. All right, let's do this. Sort of, I like the idea of a single, like a wheel on the front of the vehicle, which has like this holder on it. and the wheel comes out the top and goes through that and goes to this holder on the inside here. It just holds the wheel on in the front. It looks very much like looks like the wheels of the, but this would give me the ability to steer the bike. So something with like an arm that connects it like so to the front of the bike in a way. Then, coming back to the back of it, this is where we're kind of trying to figure out the rest of this structure here. I mean, here could be it's a motorcycle. It's the same as it's sort of that design. Here's its primary engine piece, whatever that is. Almost like the bike from Tron, yeah. And because of that, I do actually like the idea of, covers over the hands, which then can be used as lights, or turn signals, or whatever. So, not able to see much of that piece there. But yeah, something similar to like that. I don't know. Ideas. I'm thinking these out. But I do like the open wheel design from like Tron. I've always liked that. But this structure here could be exactly the same structure as we've got for our cars. And because of that, it actually probably doesn't even need any of this. It probably is drive-by-wire in some way or another. So, some structure that goes forward like so, and drive-by-wire drives very much like you turn the handlebars in one way or the other, and it just automatically drive-by-wire turns the wheel pieces in the front there. More like that. And I'm not sure whether I want a second wheel or not. I may not want a second wheel. It might be this. This is the design right here. It just has a forward wheel. A dual wheel in the front, like a trike. Like a reverse trike, like those spiders. My brain really likes the idea of a mono wheel. So one wheel and the body kind of more like this, riding over the top of that mono wheel. Right? So you put this here and like something more like that. And it rides in the front of a single wheel. And the rider would just sit like so, leaning forward over the body of the vehicle, and the arms forward like so. You DM'd me an image. I will DM look at that image, but not directly on the screen because that's weird. Oh, I see what you're saying. That's really weird. I like it. Huh. I kind of like that. Well, what if you were saying something about tread earlier? Like, what if we had something that was like a three-wheel track like this that sat then, on the front of it like so. The back of it sort of like this. And the handlebars there. What if the tracks were like armor plates? So something that looked a little bit more like this from the side with a linkage between the two of them so that the next track would then be kind of more like this and kind of come through. This is looking through the track, so to speak, so that the track then could, move around a wheel like so, but would allow you to have the ability to, because the thing about a track, of course, is that it's going to be a flat ground surface, and you don't want that for a motorcycle. You want the ability to lean to give yourself the inside cuts that you can make those turns around corners and things like that. So if you had a track, the track's not going anywhere. But what if we made the track like this so that the tracks still could lean? Let's see what that other picture looks like, shadowy. Yeah, but see, you can't lean with these guys. And they would never be fast. That's the problem, is they wouldn't be fast. But I kind of like the idea of a motorcycle that, kind of went like this. What you ended up with was this sort of running track, kind of went like so. And it was just a bunch of tracks that were shaped like a V, right? So this would be a cross section of that track, which then ran through runners that would be oval shaped like so. But what's the benefit of that? I mean, other than you'd end up with contact on the road through this entire zone right through here. Right? I mean, like, that'd be kind of the thing. Right? Because these Caterpillar ATVs, they still wouldn't quite. I don't know. My brain still just likes the idea of that one front, super big front wheel. Not even that. Something that's just a single wheel holding on to the hull of the bike with the seat back here like so, and it just does kind of this little S curve thing to the front, holds that wheel on, and there's nothing back here. That just kind of, for some reason, that one, right? Don't use current tech, use spaceships. We have spaceships. Man, that sounds like science fiction. We live in a spaceship, dear. Yeah, you know. I actually want to have a character who writes science fiction in here. That's something I've never seen. You know what I mean? Like in any space story ever, I've never seen a character that writes science fiction. But science fiction won't die just because we're in the. Yeah, well, and that's, you put a foot like this so that the foot would come down and stop it. In fact, I just had a really wild idea. What if there's a divot cut out here, like this part of this is a divot, and this is the foot stand. So you put your foot here when you're stopped at a light, let's say, right? Your foot is here. As you take off, this foot stand moves up into that. As the vehicle starts to move, then it's just a single wheel moving along. And then you're riding along with your foot, and the foot stands here. So it puts you more like this is your body motion. So the vehicle changes formation as you get faster, and this foot stand moves up to be aerodynamic with the vehicle. Right? So as you stop, that little foot stand comes down and it gives 2 feet. So, because it'll be as wide as both of your legs are in the back of the vehicle. So when it slides down, it'll be 2 kickstands that come out to the ground like this. And then you stop on that and it sits on that and waits. And then as you go forward, as you accelerate, the foot stands immediately come off the ground, and you're really feeling that track. The feet come off the ground and move up into the locked position behind you. I'll do something with track treads. The problem with track treads is no matter what, you have a lot of mechanical movement in the moment when the tread goes around a wheel. That's why tanks have a hard time going fast. The biggest thing that they had to do with the M1A1 and the M1A2 was try to get the linkages in the treads to move as fast as possible so that they can rattle around at full speed going back and forth like this. Because the treads have to keep coming around that wheel, turning around and coming back, and then coming around the wheel again, coming back. So in order for those treads to move quickly, you have to make sure that the linkages between each tread piece is very quick. So in order for a motorcycle to work that way, it becomes markedly. Oh yeah, you wouldn't see this on. You'd see this for open road. It's a speeder. With the idea being that you can put your head right here, and just like in a motorcycle, stay within the airflow of the bike. fact, I'll even kind of make this more like this. Even more forward running like so. That's what I think we're going to do with this. So for issue 3, we'll have a little speeder bike. And there would definitely be limitations on what you could and could not use on a home ship. And put the knee here and then put the foot like so. And then hinge this maybe right here. It's probably the best bet. So it goes straight back. And then when it's down, it's not down very far. So it just kind of moves down to here, probably. And then just sits like that. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Polaris is large. The Polaris is a big city, but it's not that big. I don't feel like the Polaris would be big enough to. I have to kind of take a look at it. Kind of makes me wonder. I do have Polaris laid out somewhere. I really need to consolidate all of these things that are all over the place. Like, just got pieces everywhere. Oh, hey. Here's Moment. You guys are wondering what planet. Yeah. Not in deck plans. It's in maps. No, it's not in maps, obviously. It's in maps, which I moved out here so I can find it. Polaris is densely packed too. Doesn't help any. Yeah. Because here's where that's the city on the ship. So, I mean, we've got enough space in here. These roads could be, you could be significantly speeding along on some of these roads, but these intersections would be a pain to work with. You have to be kind of, I mean, but like areas like out here where it's all going to be farms and things like that, this could easily be. There's probably also radial passes. Like this is probably a big, large radial pass. And, there'd be large radial passes that go through the city. Freeways, if you will. Like I would assume that you'd end up with one freeway that went around the whole loop and you'd see that. But the Polaris definitely has a larger setup. I like this yellow road here over on the side, which goes nowhere, just stops right here. Like, well, that's great. I need to go through here somewhere along the line to fix this because it was done in a map maker. And like some of this is like, well, I don't know how logical this road would be, you know? I don't know why. Well, it starts here going nowhere and ends here also going nowhere. And this should be like a beach road or something. And it's yellow. And I don't even know why it's yellow. I mean, I do like the fact that they added things like little roads through the parks and stuff like that. That makes some sense. But like this park here, which is very lovely. It's a very lovely park. But I also think that some of these would be parks. Just having spent way too much time um, playing all of those city games like City Builders, I can assure you that somewhere along the line they would all be parks. So, all right, now I think I'm running out of steam. I do like this idea, so I will save it as speeding bike. I'm definitely going to use the same wheel design we used um, for the Walker, the MPV. That way, it matches in technology and it looks appropriately the same. We're also using these same designs for the vehicles, just the standard cars on the road. Because the standard cars on the road have just two grabber things up front that grab the wheels, and they drives around. And then two grabber things in the back that grab the wheels, and it drives them. But this arm that extends out with a wheel going through it like this that's the standard design for vehicles at the moment. And you know, it also means that you've got one motor per each wheel, which means you can control the motors individually if you really need to. Um, you're driving along and everything runs coordinated, but then, we've gotten stuck in mud. You can throw it down into individual mode and run this wheel and then run this wheel in a different direction, or run them both at the same time, or run them backwards, or only run this wheel, or, allows you to control different variable wheels. It also gives for suspension because those arms can drop down, and as you run over things, the suspension can move and individually do that. And so all four wheels can bounce up and down and move individually. So that's the standard that's the standard setup for any car or truck in the Bellatrix Rising universe. That gives them independent suspension and independent driving and things like that. You could turn in place like a tank, yes. Two wheels going forward and two wheels going backward. You just rotate the vehicle around. So definitely the designs that are set up. So yep. And there we go. That's our bike design. We have designed a bike which just uses one wheel. I kind of like the idea that it just some point in time, as soon as you start getting moving, it just needs that one wheel to roll and it's all good. And just one wheel and just speeds along. It'd be kind of fun. I don't know. It seems like a fun thing to me. Our music just give up. I think our music just gave up. It's like we had music, but then it decided not to. It's all right. I think it's 11:30. It's time for me to go figure out what I'm doing with the rest of my day. So I will talk to you guys later. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you guys tonight. It is Tuesday night. Yes, Tuesday night. So I don't think I have anything happening today really, except I got to go do laundry and stuff like that. All the normal things you got to do. Um, So, yep, kind of looking around. And that should be pretty good. I'm like looking at my histories. Yeah, I don't have anything else today except for a walk I've got to go do here in a few minutes. Tonight's the Expanse game. That'll be fun. So I'm all about this plan. Okay, well then I'm going to head out of here. I will see you all later, and I hope you all have a wonderful day. And as always, keep your eyes on the stars. Bye, Some User. Bye, Brent.